Guys, this is me, Michael, and today we are playing Super Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo. Don't ask me how to say the Japanese name because I wouldn't do it justice at all. So, this is the fourth Castlevania game on the Nintendo system. Like, there was a few on some random Japanese systems, and there was an arcade game called Haunted Castle. There was never a regular Super Castlevania 4. I remember when I was basically in Kmart, if you know where that store is. I don't even know if you guys know what the Kmart is, because like they're all going out of business now basically. Not all of them, but most of them. Like there's not one near me, but anyway, it's basically like a store that sells like everything except groceries. So, but they started to sell groceries for a little while, but I'm getting off track here. But they sell video games, and that's the main thing. So I was in the video game department, and it was around when the Super Nintendo first came out, and I saw Super Castlevania 4 right after playing 3. My mind was officially blown. Unfortunately, it was behind a counter, and I was with my dad. My dad was the one that not want me to touch anything and stay behind him at the whole time while he spends 3 hours to look at tools. So it blew my mind. I was like, Super Castlevania 4, and to give you an idea, 27 turning 28 in September. It's 2012. I was around about 7 years old, I would say, when I saw this game. Offhand, that's probably like 92. But my math could be a year off. I'm not trying to do math in my head. I guess I sound like a lazy, stupid American, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, so I figured if it had Super in the title, that they would have like a regular Castlevania 4 for the NES. So I figured, oh, I don't have a Super Nintendo. Maybe I could play the Nintendo version, but they just put Super in the title for some reason. They never had a regular Nintendo version, and I was actually a Sega Genesis adopter, so I didn't really get to play this game till way after it came out. Matter of fact, I think I played the second Super Nintendo game, Dracula X, before I even played this one, and I'll do another video on Dracula X, because that has its own story. But yeah, when I played this game, I was really surprised. Out of all the 2D Castlevanias, believe it or not, and there are quite a few of them, this is the only one that I can think of where you actually can whip in all directions. You can like crouch and crawl. You have like more control over your jump than any Castlevania. I think in Bloodlines you had a little bit of control in your jump. You can jump on stairs, jump off of stairs, like, and do that little, this was the first game that did the little thing where you can hold the button and dangle your whip. It was a fairly large game. I wouldn't say it was as large as Castlevania 3, so I think it took a step backwards in that direction, and you only could play as one character. Story-wise, this is actually a remake of Castlevania on the NES. It's not a true sequel story-wise, but gameplay, graphic-wise, level-wise, it is. New additions also include you being able to Indiana Jones style swing your whip like on those little bat ring things and like swinging across. There's also a lot of mode 7. Also handy, instead of pushing the attack button and up to use your special weapon, you can use the shoulder button, so you only need to use one button to use the weapons. First few levels of this, I have to say, are kind of boring, and it makes me think that maybe the people who made the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions of Castlevania, The Lords of Shadows game, maybe just played these levels on this game because they kind of look like it. And here I was complaining like, oh, it's not like the old Castlevanias. Well, this Castlevania gets really cool later on, like mostly because you're actually working your way up to Dracula's castle. So once you go to Dracula's castle, like it's mostly pretty cool and has more ghost things. This is kind of ghostly, but you could still see something like this in Lord of the Rings. And the Japanese version, which I should have played instead of this version. Don't let this like scare you away or anything, but that one has blood and isn't censored quite as much, but it's pretty close. As between this version and the Sega Genesis, I guess because I was an early Sega Genesis adopter, like I still like Castlevania Bloodlines a little bit more. I don't know if I'd like it if I was in Europe and played the PAL version, which was called Castlevania Next Generation or New Generation or something, instead of Castlevania Bloodlines, the Sega Genesis version I'm referring to right now. That one was overly censored and didn't have the classic Sega Genesis blood and violence and everything, so it kind of took the appeal out. So basically in the beginning of this, you're going through a lot of kind of like just woods and swamps, and it doesn't really have that gothic creepy like feeling. The music is really good. Between this and the Sega Genesis soundtrack of Bloodlines, again, I'm biased, I guess. I like Bloodlines soundtrack a little bit better. Konami is the only company I think that really actually took advantage of the Sega Genesis soundtrack, but in all actuality, like the instruments and everything sounds better in this game, and I'd say it's a tie. Like, believe it or not, still like my all-time favorite Castlevania is 3 on the NES, if that tells you anything. I almost think maybe Bloodlines, because I had more nostalgic reasons with it, but reasons for liking it more, I don't know. My commentary is awesome, but it's almost like a tie. Just maybe Bloodlines edging it out, but it's almost a tie between this game, which I didn't even get to play till around the time the Nintendo 64 came out. I'm guessing that was around 97, 98. So yeah, I didn't play this till a long time. And then when the rental store was getting rid of their Super Nintendo games, like I got this for like $10. I think I cut the grass or something and earned money to get it, and it was totally worth it. I finally got to play it because I remember at first I didn't care for it as much because it didn't have that gothic background I remember in the other Castlevanias, because I didn't realize that you had to work your way to the castle, which you won't see on this video unfortunately, but there's plenty of playthroughs, and please continue watching the video. Don't let it scare you away. You still see some cool stuff. I think that was a nice effect with the feathers. I think they all, I know that for a fact they also do it in the Sega Genesis version. Sega Genesis version has a little bit of more blood. But anyway, as I was saying, the not even between, like, I think my favorite 16-bit Castlevania slightly goes on the Sega Genesis Bloodlines version, but it's almost like a tie between this, Bloodlines, and I didn't get to play this till way after, until it came out on the PSP, and I had to unlock it, which I would like to make a video of, which is what they tried to do with Dracula X2, like, even though they failed, because it was like this version I'm referring to is not this. There was a PC Engine version called Dracula X Rondo of Blood, which is actually the game that takes place before Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night's actually, even though it's a completely different kind of game, it's actually a sequel to Rondo of Blood, and Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night is in the Dracula X Chronicles, which on the PSP, which is actually like a 2.5D update of Rondo of Blood, which is a really cool Castlevania that nobody really got to play until way later on during the PSP cycle. So I think they should like release some compilation or something, especially since they're relaunching the Castlevania series as a whole. Like, I really think that it's about time at least release the ones that they already have, kind of like what they did with Devil May Cry, since they're not re-releasing, they're relaunching the series like they are with Castlevania. Bless their hearts. I hope they do better and make it closer to these versions, the 8-bit and 16-bit versions I'm referring to. I liked Symphony of the Night a lot, but I think the DS versions kind of got tiresome, and the backgrounds and everything weren't as interesting, in my opinion, as Symphony of the Night. And there's a lot of recycled stuff, and I know that sounds stupid because there was the whole upside down castle that was recycled and all that stuff. They were going in like a good direction with the last DS game, where you were kind of outside like this and kind of worked your way to the castle, but it was like puzzle pieces of the older levels and put together to make it seem bigger. But anyway, let's talk about this. So we're still working our way up to the castle. I'm pretty sure that those spikes are, unfortunately, instant death traps. And this game was actually made by employees from Treasure, which you know is quality. So this kind of harkens back to the map of Castlevania 1 and 3. More 3, because 3 you worked your way up to the castle too, but I do think the backgrounds in 3 and everything were better. 3, as flawed as it is, and the instant death Castlevania stiff control is still my favorite. Now this was an early Super Nintendo game, as you can see that there's like a lot of slowdown, and that was pretty common with a lot of early Super Nintendo games. Super Nintendo didn't have as, I guess, as fast as a processor as the Sega Genesis. I guess that's what their whole marketing campaign about blast processing. Even though Super Nintendo was powerful, there was a lot of stuff on the screen at a time. Even though it looked better than the Sega Genesis, it couldn't handle like the speed of the Genesis. The Genesis was a much faster system. Not to say that the games on Super Nintendo were any easier or whatever, because it's quite the contrary. They're just as difficult, in my opinion. And the sound and everything looked better. I remember, especially when it came to ports, which is a big issue now, the PlayStation 3 versus 360, where a lot of times the Super Nintendo would like get like ports that were better than the Sega Genesis. Like, for instance, the port of Mortal Kombat 2 was superior than the Sega Genesis version, but the Super Nintendo, with longer development like times as years went by, like development like kind of pushed the system further, and you didn't see as much slowdown. But this game basically uses every trick the Super Nintendo had in its book at the time. Now these levels make me nervous. Anything with heights in video games, I start to turn into a nervous wreck. Like, I'm always scared I'm gonna fall. I'm not really too scared of heights. I mean, like, I wouldn't type rope or anything or go on like some rickety bridge. I guess I'm more scared of falling than anything. But yeah, I get nervous when I play like anything that has like ledges and stuff like that. Like when games went into the 3D dimension, when they start using polygons more. Like, I remember the first time I played Mario 64, I was so paranoid about falling more so than I ever had in a 2D game. But anyway, in this, like I said, we're working our way up to Dracula's castle. Unfortunately, this would be an extremely long video if we went to Dracula's castle. Like, you can send a message and say like, hey, I want to see a playthrough or something like that. You know, kind of feed in that community aspect. But as of right now, I'm just kind of giving you a little show of what this game is like. This music's kind of slow and rainy and depressing, which is kind of appropriate for the way the weather is right now. It's supposed to actually rain throughout the whole week, in case you even cared. By the time you see this video, it might be like winter or apocalypse or something like that. Those little flashy things are always like, they're always like, you can't kill them. They're like, in every Castlevania game, they're always like invincible. And I think there's things like that in Zelda and Super Mario Brothers too. Super Mario Bros. 3, they had these little things that look like acne pads that were the same thing. Seems like a lot of the 16-bit like games like always had like something that was indestructible and rotated around platforms. I've never liked these things. Now this game like throws a lot at you fairly early. I don't even know whether to count these as levels or not, because I don't even really feel like the game starts until you get to Dracula's castle. But like, if you played Castlevania, like the first one on NES, you wouldn't even see those things until like level 4, which I don't think I got to. I think I ended the video for that one like right when I like ended like level 3, so I apologize, but I'm sure there is a playthrough somewhere. But watch my videos first. But yeah, like if you check out my channels list too, you can request videos for the systems I have up there, or like I said, if you want to play through, if I'm good enough. Some games I obviously wouldn't be able to beat, and I'd let you know. I could do something where I can try to get as far as I possibly can. But I know those are longer videos. Like I know the Snatcher video like took quite a long time. I don't know unless I'm really feeling up to it, do like a super long game, but like a game that doesn't take too long to beat. Like this one's fair to like split up in sections. Like that'd be cool. Oh, I hate instant death. Oh shit. I don't like those things either. They kind of blend in the background. I guess they're supposed to. I don't know what the hell they're supposed to be. But yeah, like I was saying, like in the first Castlevania, you don't see those little like brontosaur things. Are actually, I think they're supposed to be a dragon or something. I don't know what those things are. Well, the long neck reptilian skeleton things in the first Castlevania, you don't see it yet. Look, awesome, screwed up. I'm normally not this bad at this game. It's just I haven't played it in a long time. This is one of those games that you have to play for a little while before you get in the so-called zone. Once you get in the zone, like, you don't even have to think. Like, I remember, I replayed Castlevania Symphony that night for the first time in a long time. That doesn't even make sense. I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, like, again after, like, quite some time, and I sucked, but then, like, after I played it for a while, it was just, like, ballet, just swiftly guiding and killing things. Like, here's another little segment that makes me nervous. Those were the things I was referring to that you don't really see way later, like in most other Castlevania games. I can't remember when you first saw 1 and 3. There was a boss character that was like 2 of those gigantic things. I didn't care for it too much. I like these old 16-bit games where like anything with like a long neck or like a flamethrower type deal is always like a bunch of segments to create the illusion that they're connected together as one thing. Like, I think the flamethrower in Contra 3, I think they have a flamethrower in that one. One of them is just like a bunch of fireballs that go up and down. I think that it's like that in Gunstar Heroes. I'm even thinking of Gunstar Heroes. I don't know. Leave a comment. Let me know. Again, trying to create the community aspect here. But yeah, check out the channel list too and see, like, if there's a game you want me to play, like on the systems I have. Check it often, because I might update like the consoles of what games I can play or whatnot. So yeah, that's something you could look into. This level's kind of annoying because there's slowdown, so I don't like to move a heck of a lot. Because if he shoots those fireballs, or if they move sporadically, like, it slows down the game a little bit. But there's nothing really to like hamper your experience. This is one of those games where if you don't freak out, you do pretty well, especially when you start messing with those hunchback guys that jump around all over the place. because I remember in the first Castlevania, and they're in this one too. They're pretty much in every Castlevania. They later on call them flea men, where they're jumping around. But if you stay calm and just whip them, like, they're pretty easy to avoid. Medusas are kind of annoying, though. Always will be on those. The Medusa heads, actually, they go up and down, are hard on platforms. But if you want to see me do a playthrough of this, send me a message. But anyway, that's the end of the video. If you like this, please subscribe, check out the channel, leave a comment, and make a request based on the consoles I have. And if you have subscribed, thank you. And leave a comment. Take care. Bye.